Welcome back to the worm. So I've been working on this cabin, I think almost a year. I can't remember when exactly I started cutting the first trees, dragging logs, making lumber to build all this stuff, but it's been, well, maybe it's been like 11 months or something. And I am 0 days away from finally moving in. I've been in the man cave, which I call it the man cave. It's like a 100 square foot tool room with no insulation. I've been in there for, I think, a couple months now. Previous to that, it was like 2.5 years in a tent. And at some point a year ago, I just decided it'd be kind of fun to build a cabin. I think originally I decided to build it because one, it helps keep my water from freezing, to have an insulated place with a propane heater in it that could just run on low. And if I can keep my 5-gallon buckets of water from freezing, fantastic. The other thing is I really want to get a big old hairy dog, and whatever I get will be fine in the winter, but certainly not going to have a big, hairy, snowy, wet dog sleeping in my tent with me. So the cabin. I think the last thing I did in the last video was build some cool shelves in here. I got them all done. They're all together. They're all up. And I was thinking today would be the perfect day. It's calm. It's kind of sunny to move all my stuff in. But I used oil-based varnish and it still kind of stinks in here. So I kind of hate to drag my sleeping bag and pillow and jackets and everything in here and then just have them reek. So when I came in here this morning to check it out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna move in. Went in, stinks too much. And I've been sitting here for about 10 minutes trying to decide what to do with the next day or two. I think the only thing left to do that I can actually make headway on in the cabin is insulating the floor. At some point, I've got different plans to insulate this a lot better, but somebody on Patreon sent me a video. I'll try to see if I can find it and link it in the description here, of this really cheapo, really thin insulation, which, to be honest, I can't really believe that it'll make any difference. Just come here, I'll show you. That's the stuff. I think this is about 3 times what I need to insulate the floor. Sorry, you guys have been watching along forever. You got to hear this stuff over and over. But this is, where's the end? I don't know if you can see, but it's like 2 layers of bubble wrap sandwiched between 2 layers of like foil. That's it. Do you agree with me? Like, how is this possibly going to work? But I watched the whole video, that one that I was sent, and the old guy was pretty convincing. And if you wonder why I'm trying this instead of, putting board insulation underneath or fiberglass insulation, you could just watch his video. He kind of addresses all that stuff. If I did fiberglass insulation underneath it, that would be the warmest thing. Then you still got to put something underneath that to keep all the critters from getting in there. And I can't really do that because my floor joists are they're not store-bought. I made them, so the joists like this, the edge is all live on them. So the top is, I cut flat so the flooring will lay on it. And the bottom I just left wavy, however it came out of the tree. No sense in ripping it off flat when you can get some extra support out of it. So you can't stick anything to the bottom. You could put like nailer strips on here and then set boards inside of it, but I'm not using plywood. Anyway, it's a whole thing. It sure is a whole thing. But I thought this would be fun. And I could probably, I'm assuming I could do this in a day. Oh, the other thing is the floor joists aren't like 16 on center, 20 on center. They go like this because one wall of the cabin is longer. It's not square. The cabin shape is like this if you're looking at the floor stood up. So anyway, I think we should give it a try. I think the widest part of the joist is like 20 or 21 inches. This is 48, so I'm thinking we just take this, cut it down the middle. That'll give us 24, and then in between the joists we stick it up there and we have a little bit of extra hanging down the sides that we could maybe staple to. Seems to me it would make the most sense to staple it this way and not staple it right up here because you'd be popping some of the little bubbles. This is the best part of building like this and living like this and doing this all the time, is just saying, that sounds weird, I can't imagine it would work, let's try it. And then you kind of know for the rest of your life whether or not it was a good idea. If I'm honest, a lot of them aren't good ideas, but it's still fun to do. Anyway, I don't know if can you smell that? No, you can't smell it. There's just like a hint of varnish left, but check out the shelves. This one was, actually all these were the last of my really nice cedar with all the cool lines and stuff in it that the desk was made out of. the same stuff as this. And oh, I'm not out. I saved 2 sticks. These 2 right here I was going to turn into other shelves, but these are, I think these are the prettiest one out of the whole tree. I don't know if you can tell, but those are 2-inch slabs just like everything else. So I'm going to hold on to these just in case I want to make a table or something. So we got the big wacky puzzle piece shelf. I threw these in. I don't know what it'll use it for. Maybe a good place to put your varnish or your coffee cup or something. It's pretty dry. Then we got the little shelf there for the jacker. You guys saw it, and I think you saw I put these up, and they only have screws going into the studs like through the top, so they weren't very strong. So I needed to make some kickstands. I don't really like the braces, but I figured if I did it, I was going to do it in a weird way. So we got one on bottom and one on top. Oh, you know what I could do is on this shelf I could set stuff here, and on this shelf I could set stuff here, and then that wouldn't be it. That's not going to work, is it? Okay, let's get out of here. It's too freaking hot. It's also nice that you can carry enough insulation for like 2 or 3 cabins under one arm like that. Much more convenient. Let's take a quick look-see under here and see what's involved. I kind of chose today, oh, I'm still going to get really dirty. I was thinking since it's below freezing all day, I was going to be laying more on ice than dirt, but maybe I'll see if I can pull a tarp underneath there. Oh, look. The picnic table. Corey, Alaskan O, Jacob, Mike G. You're all still on there. I mean, you're going to get planed off, but don't worry, you're going to get put back on there. So, I'm going to have to drag those out of there. Oh, man. This has become a dumping pit for building supplies. Well, let's see if we can weasel under here for a minute. Yeah. Oh. Whoopsie. I got some nails sticking all the way through here. I wonder how that happened. Got a bunch of them. That sucks. That's going to be a problem. What kind of moron did this thing? Well, we'll have to cut that off. I guess it's going to burn up this plastic, but we're going to recoat it with the other stuff. Wow, it actually looks pretty good under here. It's not any mildew, any critters. This is kind of why I've built all the buildings out here like this, up on stilts, so you're not going to get raccoons or anything living underneath here. Plus, like with the tent deck, which was the first thing I built out here, it gives you a space to put like Tupperware tubs. So when I first moved out here a few years ago, I was just camping, just like in the woods, just in the dirt. And you do that for a couple months and everything gets muddy, so we thought, well, let's get a chainsaw mill and see if we can make some decks to put our tents on. And you might as well put them a couple feet off the ground, and then you can store crap underneath it. It's also a little unfortunate because when you store this much garbage under here, it looks really junky. Whatever, there's nobody to see it except for you guys and me. I mean, that's it, just the 2 of us. All right, let's chop up some bubble wrap. So, yeah, 12 feet. What do you think? If you had to guess, how much difference do you think this will make in keeping this place warm? Well, I'll show you. I started a little experiment. I wish I'd done it for longer, but check it out. So just for the last few days, I've been writing down here. I have an inside and outside thermometer. So we got outside temp 34, inside temp 61. And then I've been shooting the floor in 4 different places with the thermometer here. Over there, it's 39. Over there, 32. It's interesting, so 38 and 32 is what I got this morning. Let's see, 45, 29. We got 50 and 30. It's pretty consistent. I mean, as long as these temps are pretty close, you know, the inside and outside currently, then you'd expect all these to be about the same. But we've got temperatures between 38 outside and 17 outside, so we'll compare all these, you know, a few times after we get the floor done. You notice that let's see, the warmest temperature in here I had was 66, and that's when it was 17 outside, and the warmest floor temperature at that time was 45. So that's not doing much to keep my living space warm. Luckily, the insulation in the walls and ceiling is good enough that, I mean, the heater keeps up pretty well. But it'll save some propane money if we can get these floor temperatures up a little bit higher. I crack myself up. Like, if you ever wonder, Ryan, do you have just one set of clothes and that's all you wear? I actually do put other clothes on, but as soon as I go to do some work, which is all day, every day, I go, well, I don't want to destroy these clothes I'm wearing. I'll just put my grubbies back on. Like, I've got 5 different sweatshirts, but, you know, if I'm going to crawl around underneath here, or I'm going to get sawdust all over me, or if I'm going to be staining something, oh, I'll get the green one. That's the most worn out one. And what happens is I just end up wearing the same thing for like 3 years straight. It's just starting to dawn on me after all these years that this is just the way I live all the time, and it's probably okay to wear more clothes than just the most disgusting at the moment. Hey, I'm going with it. Nope, nobody has to smell me. I'm thinking I'll just cut one length of this, split it down the middle, and go and make sure, oh nice. Don't you love packaging like that? Yeah, I won't chop up half of this roll and make all of these until I'm sure they're actually going to fit under there right. I have a tendency to just go at things and then find out, like, oh, I just did cut all of that wrong. Don't kneel on it, you'll pop it. How are you supposed to do this without kneeling or stepping on this stuff? I'm not sure if that was the bubble wrap popping or my knee. Alright, let's see if that'll work. Oh, man, there's all sorts of good stuff under here. And a little bit of garbage too. We'll have to, after the cabin's completely finished and moved in, I might pull all this out and see if I can just make up a project to use all these scraps. I mean, they do get used eventually. Triangles are harder to use. Ooh, look at that stuff. That's nice. This one's pine. I don't know what this is. This is really pretty though. But check out the lines in that. Maybe it's just this side you can see them. Yeah, we'll build something out of that for sure. I'm gonna have to build a lot of boxes. Whew. I also found the new Easy Rail system from Granberg. Haven't used them yet because I only got the 10 feet in the mail. Had to get 5 more added on so we can do at least 12-foot logs with it, 13-foot. Actually, this is great. Now I can mill 14-foot slabs. I don't know if you can do 15. You probably can't do 15 with 15 feet of rail. But this will be really cool to be able to do some longer slabs. I don't know what for, but I mean, we'll build something 14 and a half feet long. Man, I'm looking forward to the day I can put this picnic table back together and sit out here and eat lunch without freezing, even though I kind of like the cold. Unfortunately, this thing's meant for wood chips and not metal shavings, but I'll use my safety squints. Yeah, I'm just gonna end up messing up this plastic. Maybe it doesn't matter. I do have the tape though. Maybe I'll have to come back through and tape all these spots I'm about to cut in here. Yeah, I don't want the hot nails falling on you. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have a tired neck. How many of these do I have to do? Looks like all the way around. How did this happen? I guess when I nailed the bottom plate of the wall down on top of the floors. Oh, yeah, I guess, you know, the 2x4 is that. Can you see? I don't know if you can see anything. 2x4 is that wide. The nail on the outside, out there, would have gone into this. And the nail pounded in here just came right through the floor. So I can see exactly how many nails I put into that bottom plate. It looks like a lot. Well, at least it's not a foot shorter than this. Actually works best just to get it on there and close your eyes. Keep going until something lets go. I don't really see any reason to do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It only took like 15 minutes to crawl around and cut those off, so take another 15 and tape up all the holes I just made. Actually, I forgot, when I put this down, I made the frame, put the house wrap over it, put the floor on, and then it took quite a while before the top was closed in. So some water went through the floorboards and was sitting in this. It's a bunch of little weep holes I had to cut to let the water out, so might as well tape them while I'm down here, even though this is all going to get covered up in a second. It's one of those things I don't want to come back and do later for some reason that I'm not thinking of now. See, do you mind if I set that right there? Oh my gosh. The amount of crunches I'm gonna have to do is gonna be off the charts. Might have to put my helmet back on just to keep the crap out of my eyes. Can't really do safety glasses because they fog up. It's a good thing I thought ahead and put a thing of Visine in my pocket. Oh, I can't tell at all if you guys can see anything, so if not, just listen to the noises and make your own mental picture. To get it started, it's not even stapled on the other side. It stays up there quite nicely. Might use this just to hold it up and come back with a ka-chunk stapler to get these staples up closer to the floor. It's kind of hard to swing that thing and get a staple way up here. I mean, it's staying up there now. Maybe it will, but I wonder if we get a bunch of wind, if, you know, this is gonna sag down. Guess I should have left a little more on that end too, but I was in a tizzy and I was in the middle of a pretty gnarly crunch. Oh yeah, my stomach is gonna be so sore, and my neck. Ow! Stick right in the head. You know what? I should go grab the other half and be putting it up 2 at a time instead of climbing all the way down and back. Let's do that. You want to get it? It's just right. I'll get it. Oh man, that is loud too. You know, I just don't like to go more than, 5 or 6 minutes without wearing my chainsaw helmet, because, never know when somebody's going to throw a chainsaw at you. That's better. Much safer, you know, when you're stapling. Didn't help. I think I have like a genetic anomaly that my eyes just attract dust and wood shavings and metal shavings. I could be just hanging out, not moving in like a clean room at a laboratory and things just get in there. Might be a stretch, I don't know. It's possible though, right? Climbing through here, I find some funny things that I did when I was building this. I apparently needed a little shim right there, so there's 5 nails stuffed in there to jack it up until I could screw the end in. What a turd. I think I should get an office job. I'm not doing very great here. Cool. That's not all too bad. Now that it's on there, it feels like it might do something. I don't know why, but it's got a little sag, but I guess that'd just be an air gap. Looks good though, huh? Well, I guess we'll cut the rest of them. I had a thought. I'm gonna hold on to these scraps. I think something I may have mentioned in a video a long time ago. One of the things I'd like to build out here is a wooden refrigerator. Like kind of make it old school, you know, kind of narrow, not super tall. And occasionally I can get around here, I can get ice blocks. And I think it would be cool to have like a super insulated, tall, skinny box with a cool door. Maybe I could even find like an old refrigerator handle for it and have shelves in it. But in the back of it, so if you're looking at it this way and it opens, in the back of it, I'd like to make a slot that's just as big as an ice block and have it so that you could take whole ice blocks and drop them down in there and they'd stack up one on top of the other in the back. You know, have either holes drilled through or just wire mesh so you could see the ice from the inside, and then have a drain system where it all comes out the bottom, and as the ice melts it just sinks down and you put more ice blocks on the top of it. And if I did something like that, I could do a layer of this stuff on the inside so the ice would be kind of against this, and then a layer of, I've got a little bit of leftover insulation from doing this place, and have that on the outside of it. Actually, yeah, it'd be cool. You'd have to make the door like this thick, the entire thing. It would probably look like a normal refrigerator now that I'm thinking of it, but the actual space inside for your food would just be, you know, a lot smaller. So most of it's insulation. And then of course the outside of it would be cedar, chainsaw milled cedar boards for everything. So I'll hold on to all these scraps. I'm sure I could use them in there. I mean, shoot, I could put 8 layers of this inside there and some wall insulation outside of that. There's just always so much to do. Four, 8. Now it's probably easier just to lay it down. 12. Go to put the shield down and dump a whole bunch of sawdust right in my face. I'm not going down far enough before I start stapling, because if it's turned a little bit to one side, you end up losing all your stapling space here. Might be able to bunch it up a little bit, fudge it. Watch it. There is a technique to it. You can get a lot faster after a couple stripes. It's like you just attach one end a little bit, pull the whole thing down, tack it in one or two places, and then you can just go back and nail them all in. And get this all finished in a couple hours, I bet. Hopefully get it done by the time it's dark. Then tomorrow, might be able to move in. We'll see what it smells like. Oh, my neck is getting tired, and my stomach. If you're interested, I'll show you why I decided to do this right now. I guess I already touched on it a little bit. So these are not a standard width apart, just because of the way I put it together. If I did it again, I probably would change it and make them all the same. But this side's, I don't know, 20 inches or something in that gap, and the other side's maybe, I didn't measure it, but maybe 18 or whatever. So just putting a roll of insulation in. I mean, you could still use rolled insulation, it just wouldn't be quite as easy. And then of course, you'd just see paper here, so you'd have to cover that over. And if this were built with store-bought lumber by a more normal person, these would all be the same width, but you could see, I don't know if you can tell, but that's just kind of a live edge on there. So the bottoms of all these don't line up. The only reason I point that out is that you couldn't put the insulation in here and then just put boards right up to the bottom of this, because these aren't cut the same. So I guess the other thing you could do is put rolled insulation in here and then put some strips on here, like some nailer strips. And then, you know, again, if these were the same spacing and you had plywood, you could cut plywood strips that went in here, kind of like went up and sat down on those nailer strips. But I don't use plywood, so that'd mean in the boards, I don't have any boards that wide, so you'd have to put the board sideways, which would mean basically every board that you put in there would have to be custom cut. So you'd have to crawl through here to put the insulation in, and then you'd have to cut and mill trees to make the strips to put along here, and then you'd have to cut and mill trees to put boards in here, but then you'd have to cut them all down to 20-inch lengths and custom fit them up there. I mean, they wouldn't have to be press fit or anything, but that's why I haven't done rolled insulation. It just didn't seem worth it. Plus, I don't like the floor that's in there. I want to put a new one in, so we'll build up eventually. But for the rest of the winter, or you know, the rest of the decade, we'll just see how this works. Hopefully it helps a little bit. I'm sure after explaining that, a bunch of you can think of like a dozen other ways that you could do this. I think that's super cool. Like the same situation and people's own life experience and creativity plays in to do this in completely different ways. You can only think up what you can think up at the time. And I'm using tin foil. I can actually smell the varnish down here. Unless, oh no, it's probably just in my clothes. I'm not gonna be able to hold my head up tomorrow. There you go. You can have this. Take it home with you. It's a souvenir. A worm-an-ear. Guess it doesn't need to be cut off, but it just feels right. I cut it off so you could have more souvenirs. Oh, I did it. It's done. It wasn't until the last couple runs there that I remembered that I still have a broken rib, and it just started hurting again. I wasn't gonna leave two ends dangling, so of course I finished it up, but I think I'm gonna take the rest of the day off. I mean, it's like 5 o'clock anyway, so I guess what I mean is I'm gonna take a shower and find something to eat. I'll try to remember to grab the camera out again tomorrow, and I'll leave the heat on there in the middle somewhere, and we'll shoot the floor and see if it made any difference. I bet we get 3 to 5 extra degrees from the floor, which is cool. If we can keep it above freezing, that would be fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna take it. You go take it easy too. You guys, you look way overworked. Ooh, there's a bit of chill to the air this morning. Got my French toast out of the way, so you know that's good. I'm gonna go in here and see what it looks like. I just turned the heater up an hour ago or so, so it's probably not up to full temp in there. But I gotta think we'd be able to see some difference, if there is a difference. You think there's a difference? Also took my moisture meter to the boards on this bed. I keep forgetting over and over to leave it flipped out overnight so it can dry out. The outside of it, it's funny, you can stick it in the heartwood and the moisture levels, you know, so. You just move it over an inch and stick it in the sapwood on the outside and it goes way up, 17%. And then you open the whole thing up, do it again. The heartwood's maybe 15 and the sapwood is like 25% water. So I'm still gonna have to figure out every day when I get up how to flip this thing open. Maybe I could just crank it up a little bit and stick a fan under there during the day. Unfortunately, it still has some stank to it, so I think I'm gonna have to wait one more day to move my stuff in here. But let's shoot the floor and see what happens. I'll turn these fans off. You know, I was kind of musing over this cheapo, what do you call this, a hydrometer? Like the little cheapo thing in the bottom here. Because if you look at the back, it's just a coil of wire. It looks like, I think they call it a bimetallic strip. That would be on the back of a lot of thermometers. And you definitely see them in thermostats in your house, the one that has the little slider, you know, the mechanical ones, not the digital ones. You guys probably know how those work, but, you know, metals, everything expands and contracts as it gets hotter and colder. So they take two different metals, stick them together, and they shrink and expand at different rates. So, you know, as it gets warmer, it does this. As it gets cooler, it does this. And it's a very small amount, but when you take a long strip of it and you coil it all together, the amount that it moves with a given temperature changes quite a bit. So, like this is not bimetallic apparently. And I'm looking at this thing thinking like, how in the hell does that work? It looks identical to a cheapo thermometer. And I gotta admit, I had to look it up because it was kind of making me crazy. Apparently it's a metal with a salt impregnated paper on one side. And you know, salt attracts moisture, you get moisture on it. It does kind of the same thing. But as I was puzzling over how this could possibly work, it hit me that this whole time I've had it hung on a wall with the back of it against green lumber. So I wonder if this thing wasn't just measuring how fast this wood was drying out and not the humidity in the room. So I took it off of there this morning, set it up here, and it dropped 10%. It's only like 30% humidity in here, which is fantastic. That means I can turn the fans on towards like the bed, for instance, and it'll dry out pretty fast. All right, so we got 19 outside, 61 inside. And over there we got 40. Over there, 37. And then back behind us. I'm trying to shoot the same spots every time. I can't quite remember where it was. I think back there. 50, like 35. 50, 35. Well, it's a guarantee. It definitely made a difference. I'm sure you won't be able to read this, and I can't really do the statistics on it, but let's see another day that was similar. Well, we got a day that was 17 outside. This is 19, but it was 66 inside, and it's only 61 now. So that measurement's 2 degrees more. That's 4 degrees more, 5 degrees more, 6 degrees more. I mean, just looking at it and guessing, I'd say everything went up at least 5 degrees. I'll have to do this the next couple days at random times. Looks like most of my measurements, it was around freezing outside. Well, that's not true. I guess that's sort of in the middle. I'll do a few more and then maybe, I don't know, give it a think and see how we can actually get a real number out of this. This is not very scientific because, I mean, I should have put like a piece of tape on the floor each place I was shooting it. But it seems like if I take all these numbers and add them together, it's 4 measurements each time. Yeah, then somehow you'd have to figure out outside versus inside temperature. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, right? What'll actually make some difference though is if we can keep the floor above freezing. And being that it's that cold outside in the coldest spot, I don't know if you remember, but I think the one night I stayed in here a few weeks ago, it was pretty cold outside, like, I don't know, maybe 0 or something. Actually, it was below 0. And I was shooting back in the corner underneath the bed. And the floor was not only below freezing, it was below 0. It was like maybe about 0. So a solid 30 degrees below freezing. And that's what I'd like to not happen because, I mean, I have all those buckets of water under there. And when they get really cold and then during the day they warm up, they start sweating and you can see water on the floor. But it's also going to make a difference maybe tomorrow or the next day when I move my stuff in here. I'll probably keep the temperature more even. You know, most nights I've been turning the heater, I guess I don't turn it on pilot, I turn it down to low, which is like 40 something degrees in here. And then if I need to turn it up, I'll crank it up, it'll get up to like 60 or something. But hey, I mean, it's 19 outside and there's no frost on the nails in the floor, so we're happy with that. We still have at least half of this left, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not really gonna, hopefully in the next couple days, I'm not gonna be living in the man cave anymore in the winter anyway. Since I got all this extra, I don't know, maybe I'll just do the floor in there. Well, guess I'm gonna fart around for the rest of the day today. Got a couple little things I'd like to make in here. And then hopefully get moved in the next couple days. And then I think the end of the week we're supposed to have a real big storm again. I always look forward to that. It's so much fun when we get a ton of snow out here. So come back if you like. We'll see what it's like to live in this place. I have a hunch it's gonna be pretty nice. Better be after all that work. See ya.